Hello everyone and welcome to the Masai Mara in Kenya. My name is Scott and it's a great pleasure to welcome you on board with myself and Wiem, who's on camera. As you can see, we are sitting along the Mara River. There's quite a few wildebeest and a handful of zebra hanging around here, possibly thinking of crossing, and we're just going to give it some time. Apparently one or two did cross a little bit earlier, just before we got here. We've been waiting here for about 45 minutes, and none of them have taken the plunge just yet. This is a live safari. If you'd like to contact us or send through questions, let us know how you're feeling. Please use the hashtag SafariLive to do so. We'd love to hear from you. And, of course, the more you let us know about what's going on, the more we can fine-tune and cater for you. James is also out on drive, as well as Byron in the Sabi sands. So we've got 2 vehicles in the Mara and 1 down south in South Africa in the Sabi sands. So good prospects for this afternoon. Sorry, Bex. No, I've lost track of what I'm actually supposed to do here, so I'm supposed to go, "This is Safari Live." Yeah, Bex, who's in the final control directing this afternoon, did have a good chuckle, so at least we made her happy. Some of these zebra just to our right over here did come into the water now just for a drink. They're obviously not interested in crossing like the wildebeest that are massing on the opposite bank, but it may help create a little bit of a sense of safety for these wildebeest. Having seen the zebra go into the water, they kind of made their way about midway across to have a drink, and now the wildebeest are certainly looking probably the most keen they have been to cross. Now, it's impossible to say which one will start and what will cause one of them to take the plunge, but all we need is one of them to jump in, or fall in. Even falling in works. Now, these guys that are taking a bit of a treacherous angle along the slope here could end up slipping down. This is looking promising. This is looking very, very promising. I haven't seen too many crocodiles here, so that's another thing that will be assisting these wildebeest in not being hugely frightened about crossing. Having said that, though, we have seen multiple crossings where, is it going to take the plunge? No. We have seen multiple crossings where the crocodiles have been everywhere and the wildebeest are seemingly completely oblivious to them. So there's a lot of kind of mysteries amongst all of us as to what causes them to cross and when and how. But that may change at any point. They could decide to take the plunge. This is an abnormal crossing point. I haven't spent too much time in this side of the Mara. I've been on the opposite side that these wildebeest are trying to go to, spending a lot of time with Cheetah over the last few weeks. So it's actually great to be exploring this area again. I haven't spent much time here in the last month or so. And what I can tell you is that this is one of the crossing points that isn't hugely popular amongst the wildebeest, but you can see that it certainly has been used for many, many years, judging from those eroded gullies. For those of you who may be joining for the first time, we do have more river cameras further downstream, so they are very well situated at more prominent crossing points. And that's not the only thing that we have in store for you. We also have another vehicle, like I said a little bit earlier, driving around in South Africa. We're in Kenya over here, but Byron is in the Sabi sands, and he's got a surprise for you.
Now good afternoon from Djuma, everyone, and what a great little start. We've got one of the male lions, one of the Birmingham coalition members, lying in the shade. It has been a bit warmer this afternoon than it was yesterday. Still cloudy, some cloudy conditions, but the males, a few of them are lying in the shade. And my name is Byron, and on camera with me this afternoon is Sebastian, and as you know, it is just me in Djuma for the next week. So it should be quite fun. We'll see what we can find. We've had an amazing last 2 days. We've had leopard, lions, elephant. We've had so much. And those brand new little Nkuhuma cubs this morning. We got to follow the female, and she took us straight to them. So that was really exciting and a wonderful surprise. We just decided to come and have a look at these males this afternoon, just to see if they are still around. And there are still 3 males, but they've spread out somewhat. I haven't been to the carcass yet. We just saw this one lying in the shade. You can see panting heavily. He's probably very, very full. The flies are bothering him, and he's just resting for the moment. We'll drive a little bit closer to the carcass and go and have a look, see if there are, or how many of the other lions are there. I think there was another vehicle, and they said there was one at the carcass, and I can see another one lying in the long grass. Perhaps the 4th one is around somewhere, or maybe he has moved down to the water. Not sure. We'll have a look around. No. There we go. Time to lie down with a full belly. Shall we go and have a look at the carcass, Seb? Let's go see. Let's just see what is happening over there. And then nice to have James and Scott with us in the Mara this afternoon. I think hopefully they're well rested after their last TV show. James, of course, wouldn't need rest. He's just it's just another level. Oh, look at this. There's the other male also lying down and belly up. Well, I'm going to move a bit closer to the carcass and just see if there is any activity, maybe vultures. But while I do that, let's head across to James all the way in the Mara and find out how he is doing today.
Look at this, everyone. This is absolutely awesome. I've discussed this with you so many times in the past, but have yet to ever be able to show it to you. Now, these water thickneys are trying their best to create a distraction to ensure that this monitor lizard doesn't go anywhere near their nest. I'm guessing they've got a nest nearby here. And isn't this absolutely awesome? Making themselves look as big as possible. And what they'll sometimes also do is feign that they've got a broken wing to lure a possible predator away from wherever their nest may be. Now, this monitor lizard, as you can see, is sticking its tongue out of its mouth very, very insistently, hoping to pick up the scent of possibly these eggs. And each fork of its tongue is essentially like a nostril, and when it puts its tongue back into its mouth, each fork gets housed into its own kind of receiver, and then that scent is processed. So you can see it's desperately trying to work out what these thickneys are trying to hide from it. It may not even be eggs, it may be tiny newborn chicks that have got incredibly cryptic camouflage and will just be hiding out in the grass, in a little tuft of grass like it's approaching now. Is certainly somewhere where these chicks could be lying. And their defense mechanism is just to lie completely dead still in the hope that they will not get detected. This is absolutely awesome. I've never seen birds do this to the extent that these thickneys are doing it now. They've got so close to it, and were even pecking it at stages there, I think. I'm not sure if they actually made contact, but it seemed like they could have. Oh, and a great display as well of this water monitor. Beautifully colored animals. And like most predators, they've got quite a wide diet. They'll feed on a lot of baby birds and chicks. Oh, the zebra's getting involved. What next? Now, if the zebra doesn't deter this water monitor, I don't know what will. And just one hoof on top of this monitor from a zebra could render it very badly injured, so that's why it's taking quite a wide path. Hello, Mayor Naz. You would like to know if this lizard is poisonous in any way, and no, it is not. And I'm not sure, there must be possibly some poisonous lizards out there, but just a small correction. Poisons are ingested, so if you were to eat this lizard, then it could become poisonous. But I think what you're meaning is, does it have any venom? And no, it doesn't have venom. It just overpowers its prey with powerful jaws. They don't even have very big teeth, so they just use, I guess, the strength of their jaws to be able to overwhelm their prey, and there is no venom inside their teeth or their mouth. Some of a similar-looking animal, the Komodo dragon, does have highly toxic kind of bacteria in its mouth, which helps kill its prey. So it bites onto it, and then that bacteria then affects the prey, in kind of like a venom would, I guess you could say. But these guys are nothing like the Komodo dragons. Let's see what's happening. The birds are still keeping a close eye on it, but not nearly as insistently as they were earlier. So obviously it's moved a little bit away from wherever their eggs or hatchlings are hiding out. Cenac, you would like to know how these birds attack predators. They won't attack them as a general rule. I mean, some birds will mob larger predators by flying and pecking them on the head, but I don't think these thick-knees do that. I've never seen them doing that myself. So what they will do is do exactly what they're doing now. They'll make themselves look as big as possible, confront any possible threats, or possibly feign a broken wing. So they'll walk around dragging one wing behind them, trying to indicate or make the animals feel like they're in fact injured, and that way it will distract them from wherever their nest or chicks are. Nice big crocodile there, just disappeared into the water, and it's just swum upstream. Let's see what happens. It may be interested in trying to latch onto one of these zebra that are coming down to drink. Only time will tell. CN, you'd like to know if the thick-knees hide their chicks in long grass. Well, I guess yes, where possible, but if we look down in that area now that they've been protecting, there's no long grass. So it may just be a tiny little tuft, or it could be next to that log over there where the little chicks are hiding, or their nest. Sometimes you'll be surprised at how out in the open these birds decide to nest. And actually, some of you might remember a bushwalk that I did many years ago down in Djuma, where we came across some thick-knee chicks, and it was relatively out in the open. So certainly not in very, very long grass. They had just been born, I think. They were still tiny and almost immobile. Whew, well, that was awesome. I love being able to share new things with you guys, and that was certainly a first for me, and I'm sure a lot of you as well. Okay, well, you've met Byron down in the sands, and now you're going to be jumping on board with James Henry, who is doing his business somewhere here in the Mara.
I don't believe that Scott understands what the term doing one's business actually means. Of course, doing one's business is not what I'm doing right now. I hope that the expression on my face doesn't look like I'm doing my business. I am currently sitting very pleasantly in the Masai Mara on a Sunday afternoon, and doing my business is the furthest thing from my mind. Good afternoon to you. I hope you're all well. My name is James Henry. Manu is on camera. There he is. You can see his beringed thumb there. And we're on the search for the Sausage Tree Pride, which he tells me reliably was around here with Jamie 2 days ago during our final television show. Now, please do talk to us using the hashtag Safari Live. You can send us your questions. You can send us your comments. We'll do our best to address those as long as they're not nasty and as long as they have nothing to do with doing one's business. Thank you so much. You can also, of course, talk to us on the YouTube chat stream and on Facebook if we happen to go live on Facebook, which we are not right now. Good. The reason I'm looking around is that I have a few guests on the vehicle with me today. They are, well, be rewarding themselves, should we say, for the efforts they put in during the television show. We have Jean-Andre, who's taking some pictures and dressed in small tablecloth, which would have too small for a baby. We have an Ascari called Moses. I don't think he was born in the bulrushes, but he may have been. And we, of course, have Kirsten and Fergus at the back, who are looking sort of gormlessly at me. Right, we are going to go down here towards those animals over there. With any luck, we'll pick up on the Sausage Tree Pride and see what they get up to on Sunday afternoons. While we do that, Byron said apparently that I wasn't tired because I'm on another level. I'm not sure what level that is. Let's go and find out from Byron.
Now, look at this beautiful hooded vulture that is trying to take a chance by the looks of things. I wonder if it's brave enough. No, we're at the carcass. Have a look. There's one male lying close, right next to the carcass. They've moved it though. Look at that. They've actually dragged it. What is that? About 40 meters, I would say. 30, 40 meters. They've dragged it now. I think the theory was, watch the vulture. Hooded vulture, quite brave, trying to sneak up, possibly get some food. Now, as I said, these lions have dragged this carcass about 30 or 40 meters from where it was. I think the reason for that is trying to get it a little hidden and trying to hide it from all the vultures. It looks like there's a lot of feathers on the ground already, so I assume there may have been some vulture feeding earlier on today, and the lions eventually had enough and decided to move this carcass. But these males are very, very full at the moment. There's a feather, you see, there's some feathers around. That's why I say there's some sign that the vultures did feed earlier. Sinak, you asked, or you said this is a beautiful vulture. What other species do we have? Well, the ones that are more common in this area, Sinak, is this hooded vulture, then the white-backed vulture, which we've seen, and we've seen a number of them on nests in that too, and then also the large one, the largest of all, is the leopard-faced vulture. They're the white-backed vultures and the hooded vulture, so both in one frame there. There we go. Awesome, Seb. So those are the three species we see mostly in this area. We have seen the Cape Griffin. I think it's now called the Cape Griffin, which we also get in this area from time to time. What else? The white-headed vulture. White-headed vulture. We do get in this area too. So the Cape vulture, it's actually a Cape vulture, it's not the Cape Griffin. It's a Cape vulture. I think another name has been used as the Cape Griffin, but Mr. P, all the way in Canada, you asked if vultures can be dangerous to people. No, Mr. P, I don't think so. I think I've never heard of a vulture attacking a person. They don't choose to fly off, obviously. Look, I think if you were buried in the desert, like those old westerns where they left you out there to die for the vultures, then possibly there could be a danger. But nowadays, no, I've never heard of a vulture attacking anyone. Some flies on that carcass. Well, you see, this vulture's brave, but the bravery is paying off because it will most likely get bits of meat. Oh, you see, as soon as that lion moves, that vulture gets a bit nervous. And vultures not interested in hanging around. Sorry, I didn't hear the name properly. Mastroma, I think that's how it's said. Sorry if I'm saying it incorrectly. So you asked, do we have crows or ravens that feed on carcasses? Well, no, and the reason for that is the crows and that are not, they're actually not indigenous. They're not meant to be here. So they're actually vermin. But we do have them in parts of South Africa, and they do feed on carcasses on roads and so on. But out here, hopefully we won't see them because they're not meant to be here. But they do occur in South Africa. Some grey hornbills calling. Oh, here comes a vulture swooping in. Almost looks like a plane landing gear out as it flies in to land in the tree. And look at all those vultures in that tree. This carcass is quite a potent stench at the moment. Now, we were very fortunate again this morning. We had all three of these males calling, all four of the males calling. That stench is not very good, is it, Seb? Now, I think what we're going to do this afternoon is I'm going to drive around a bit more. I've got the entire Djuma to myself. So I'm going to drive around a bit more, see what else we can find, and return here a little bit later. And hopefully when it cools down, we might have some more activity. Maybe the other males join, feed a little bit more, or move closer. I think that's what we're going to do. So let me move on, and while we do that, let's head across to James all the way in the Mara and see how his afternoon is going.
She has not lain to us yet, or I would be talking.
Welcome back, everyone. Not sure what happened there with James, but good to have you back. As you can see, we have... Oh, I forgot to take off my glasses. As you can see, we have left that crossing point. We have plans to go to an area called the Salt Lick, and it's a bit of a way from here. And seeing as though the wildebeest didn't seem like they were going to take the plunge, we've decided that it would be a good time to start heading south. We are going to be staying out after this evening safari in the hope that we'll be able to catch some action after dark, which we'll be able to share with you guys on various different pages, Facebook being one of them. I actually don't know which others really to suggest at this stage, but we will go live as and when we find any action after this safari, depending on what happens. So those are our plans. I'm looking forward to heading down there. I've only actually been down there once or twice before, and it's a beautiful area. Often quite high numbers of wildebeest there because there is a kind of swampy marsh that provides them with tasty food and also some good drinking points. And there are also some lion that often hang around in that spot. So that's the plan. We've still got probably about 15-20 miles until we get there, I'm guessing. So we'll see what we can find along the way. It's fascinating how the numbers fluctuate so greatly over very short periods of time here. And the fact that I haven't driven in this area for the last few weeks means that I'm seeing a lot of changes. It's dried up a lot. It used to be a lot more lush in this area, with a lot more grass, but that's all been consumed, as well as also it's just drying out. We're coming towards the end of what is a long dry season, and we can start expecting more rain here in the months of November, but even before then we can expect a few little sprinklings. Just going to pull over here. There's a spot where zebra like to come and drink, which is clearly what they're doing over here, but we cannot get you a spot to see what's actually going on. There's certain areas where we can off-road and certain areas where we cannot, and this obviously is one where we cannot. So I'm told the questions are slow from Rebecca, so we need your guys' help, as I cannot ask myself questions. That would be a bit daft. Oh, there's a fish eagle, wildebeest, up in the sky, just above, I think, where you are. Very good. Beautiful. Ah. Hello. How awesome is this? It's kind of how their call sounds. Very good. Well done, VM. Hello to Gary. Thank you for sending through your question. You would like to know, where does the crew stay? Do we stay in a tourist camp? No, we do not. We have based our camp, or our camp has actually been built in a very short space of time. Stefan headed up that project. It's a tented camp, and we are adjacent to a tourist camp called Agama Mara. So we are nestled up on the Olololo escarpment. So this is the escarpment over to our right over here. And we are our camp is probably about 15 miles further to the right. VM's panning to the left, to the south, towards Tanzania. But our camp is further behind us, with beautiful views looking out onto the Mara floor. And certainly loving being in tents. It's a great way to be able to live in the wilderness, because you get to be able to hear all the sounds at night. And it's also nice and cool, and I think well suited to the Mara climate, being in a tent. Sometimes, though, when I'm on the opposite side of the river spending time with Cheetah, there's another camp that's very kindly offered to look after whoever I'm on camera with, so we do spend time there. That's just outside of the reserve in an area called Talek, and the camp is called Ol Shaiki. Bit of a mouthful. And yeah, I guess in time we'll build more relationships with different camps in the area, as it's so big that it'll be useful for us to have multiple spots where we can head in, get some fresh coffee, a snack, and then head back out into the field. Good. Thanks for that question, Gary. And if anyone is ever in the Mara, we do welcome any of the viewers to come and check out our camp, see what it's like behind the scenes, check out the FC, Final Control. So that's something to bear in mind if you are ever here in the Mara, or even in the Sabi Sands down in and around Djuma. Good stuff. We're going to be sending you back to James. Cancel that. James is playing hard to get. Obviously, because you guys haven't been sending through questions, now James is sulking. He can be quite sensitive. So please do send through questions, more to James than to me. I've come to terms with the fact that sometimes the questions are slow, but James obviously is not very happy with that situation. I'm only kidding. There's obviously just a little problem with his comms with Rebecca and FC, but I'm sure they'll be able to remedy that shortly, and you'll be able to find out what he's up to. This area we're driving through now is a spot where I've seen a big male lion called Scar. He's very, very well known, possibly one of the most well-known and photographed and followed lions in Africa. He's got a very distinctive scar over his right eye, And he's a beautiful, beautiful specimen, a massive, massive mane that flops forward in the front. And there's a few of these gardenia trees that he likes to sleep under. So we are going to do our best to see if he's not around here. Interestingly, he does swim across the Mara River from time to time, so sometimes he's on the opposite side. And we have been lucky enough to document one river crossing of a male lion so far, quite recently, within the last week. So that was something quite cool that's happened. Good stuff. We are going to now be sending you down south to South Africa, where Byron is approaching Treehouse Dam, where there is no treehouse.
Now we have left that carcass and those lions. Now all 4 males are in that area. They are still all there and just lying about in different positions around the carcass. So hopefully we get some activity a bit later. But I thought let's explore a little bit. We're gonna head down to one of the dams or check some of the water holes. Maybe we have some luck with elephant. Perhaps some more birding. Birding's been fun. I know a lot of you have been enjoying it too. I was reading some of the tweets this morning, and some people getting a lot more species, a lot of new species, which is great. Seb, what do you want to see this afternoon?
I'm busy. We've been spoiled, right, for the last few days.
We have been spoilt, yeah.
Spots, if we can. Some lions roaring tonight, maybe.
Oh, Sebastian wants to see some lions roaring tonight. That would be great. I want to see a honey badger. Paul, now you were asking, is there or are there animals that we see here in the greater Kruger that you don't see in the Masai Mara? Let me think. Kudu? There are no kudu in the Mara. So kudu, one of the antelope species. I think there are waterbuck up there. I'm not sure actually. I don't know, Paul. Can I tell you, it'll be better to ask Scott and James that question. They've been up there for a while, so they know it a lot better than what I do. I've never been up. Trying to think, but kudu I know. Obviously, the bird species are different. There are a number of different bird species. What else? I don't know about honey badger and those animals. Or aardvark. Do they have aardvark there? I don't know. Not that we see them here very often, but they do occur here. What else? I'm trying to think. Oh, maybe James or Scott can shed some light on that. Alright, well, it sounds like James has fought off some gremlins in the Mara. Apparently they get them there too. So that's one animal that is found both here and in the Mara. Let's head across to James and see what he says about the animals and the different types of animals they find there.
Goodness gracious, Byron is being very funny today, is he not? Ha 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 ha. Yes, indeed we get at least East African gremlins here, much as you get Southern African ones down in South Africa. There are some wildebeest. You don't actually get this animal in the Sabi sand. This is a different subspecies, of course, this being the white bearded gnu, as opposed to the bog standard blue gnu that you've got down there. Other animals that you get in the Sabi sands you don't get here. Of course, the waterbuck species is different. You do get kudu here sometimes. The lesser kudu is found up here, so it's a different kudu species. The waterbuck here is called the Defassa waterbuck. It doesn't have the target on its buttocks like the ones down there do. What else? The grey duiker, the common duiker, we don't find here. I've heard reports of Steenbok here. I'm not convinced that I've seen one myself. And so there are quite a few things down there that you'll find here and not there. The most common one, though, would be a nyala. Nyala are very common down in the Sabi Sant, but not at all up here in the Masai Mara. So there you are. There are some. Hello, CMAC. You say, does the beard of the wildebeest indicate how old it is? Well, no, in actual fact it doesn't. The ladies have them as well as the men. That is a very old one. You can see that from the sort of, shall we say, less than fine condition of the horns. But they're actually born with them. So the youngsters have beards just about as long as the adults do. So no, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with age. Now that, of course, we're sitting on Sunday post the great Mayweather-McGregor fight, I keep looking at the beards and thinking of poor old Conor McGregor, technically knocked out in the 10th round, but frankly I'd happily have been technically knocked out in any round for $130 million. These chaps now have returned from the southern parts of this reserve, and there was quite a lot of consternation about a week ago because the entire northern triangle emptied of wildebeest, and they seemed to head down towards the south. Well, they didn't seem to, they did. It wasn't something that they seemed to do, we saw them do it. And then everyone thought, oh, well, they must be heading back to the Serengeti already. But of course, as we remember from last year, they move around within this area. There is no area that they stick to sort of religiously or permanently at all. And because we've had so much rain up here in the last little while, so they've come back into this area. And I remember last year, of course, most of our great highlights happened in the middle of September. So we still have, I would say, a good 4 weeks of migration action up here in the Northern Triangle. And it just depends which parts of the Northern Triangle get rain over the next little while. I'm afraid the sausage tree pride has eluded us because the signal, aka the gremlins, is not able to extend as far as where we think those lions are. We could easily have driven past them within sort of 2 or 3 meters, given the length of the grass, but I don't think we have. So we'll go and search probably of the Mugoro pride and possibly the Paradise pride as well. Jackie, you want to know what their horns are made out of? Their horns, Jackie, are made out of dark chocolate, and it's one of the great delicacies of the wildebeest migration, of course, is finding a set of dark chocolate horns in the grass to snack upon with your morning coffee. I am obviously talking rubbish. They are made on top of keratin, so that's keratin on the top there, and underneath the keratin there is bone. And you can, basically the best way to find out what they are, if you have access to a farm or some cattle somewhere around where you are, they have exactly the same sort of design as cattle horns. There is a bone inside with the keratin sheath over the top. And that is what in fact defines a horn on an antelope versus an antler on a deer, which of course is not bony, it is cartilaginous and falls off. And if you knock a horn off, or if another wildebeest eats your chocolate horn, then unfortunately it does not grow back again. And some of the older wildebeest who have made this trip up to the Mara, maybe say up to 10 or 11 times, well, sometimes they have no horns at all, and often they have one missing from the fighting that they've engaged in, and just general wear and tear. You can see still lots of grass around, and although it looks quite brown on your screen there, it's a lot greener, I think, than it looks there, and there's a lot of green stuff in amongst the long grass patches here. We're going to continue up north a little bit and then head down towards the Mara River, and while we do that, I believe Byron has arrived at Lake Treehouse.
Oh, now, at least James got to tell us the difference with about some of the animals they get there, and the difference between like the waterbuck and the wildebeest, obviously. I'm trying to do a bit of birding around here quickly, just to see if there isn't something we can add to the list. We're at one of the dams at the moment. I can hear Cokie Franklin calling in the distance, but it sounds like it's in the thicket, in the bush. So I don't think we're going to have any luck with that. We're seeing it right now. We'll try and find one though in the next few days. Got about a week left to try and see how many birds we can see. Add to our list. Like I said, the thing with the bird challenge, that's the Egyptian goose, but we've obviously got that. The thing with the birding challenge is I've got to get it on camera, which is not always easy. So we see all the birds, but to get them on camera before they fly off is quite difficult. There's a new one, Seb, that just landed. Did you see in this little thin tree on the edge over here, on the left-hand side at about 3 o'clock in that tree?
So this one here.
You go up. No, sorry, the taller tree.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, so go up there on the left-hand side there. Let's see if it's still there. It's still there, straight in the center of the screen. Lower down, there we go. A golden-breasted bunting. I was hoping to find one of those around here. So that's another one for the list. Golden-breasted bunting. I think I'm on 55 now. Is that right, Megs? 55 birds on camera. That's okay. That's okay. We're ticking them over slowly but surely. Obviously, as the numbers increase, it becomes a bit more difficult. No. Apparently I'm on 56. Alright. With the golden-breasted bunting, 56. Are you sure, Megs? Oh, that's great. 56 birds. Awesome. Now, we've got to do a bit of a time lapse here quickly too. Seb, what is the time lapse for exactly? Is it so you're just taking photos? I think what Sebastian has been doing is taking the same photo every day from the same position around the same time, and then he's going to do a time lapse to show. Is it to show how the bush changes or seasonal changes? So to show the difference from winter through spring and into summer, which is really cool. So I think that's going to come out really nicely. So Sebastian has been taking some pictures every day from 2 different spots at the same time, and we'll see how that gets put together. I'm scanning around. It's so nice and peaceful just to sit around the waterhole for a while and see what potentially comes down to drink or. I think let's go across to James, who's apparently doing some birding in the Mara too.
We are attempting some birding, everybody. There is the silhouette of a bird. Could we zoom in on it slightly, as artistic as that picture is, Manu? Thank you very much indeed. Now, what bird do you think it is? Hashtag Safari Live. I'm not going to wait for you to answer it, everybody. I want to tell you. It is a brown snake eagle found at Djuma, and I suspect it was probably number 23 also on Byron's list of 100, which is now at 56, I believe, which is quite impressive for the winter months. With any luck, he should get 1 or 2 specials that have come back. I wonder if he's got Wahlberg's eagle. They should be back now, 1 or 2 of them. Perhaps a yellow-billed kite or 2. That's a youngster. It's got a slightly pale whiteness on its shoulder, but you can't see that because of the light as it is now. Good. All right, let's have just a little spy around for the scenery, because, of course, in the Masai Mara, one has only to point the camera somewhere to be astounded by the beauty of the scene. First of all, let me say hello to you again. Very good. Now, let's go across straight over the top there to what is known as Serena. That is the headquarters of the Mara Triangle, and in between here and there, a great expanse of creatures, and that gathering of vehicles there is not a convention of gypsies. No, we think it is perhaps a lion sighting, so we're going to head down towards there, just off the Mara River, and see if we can't get lucky. There is an area not too far from there that is used as a, well, not to put too fine a point on it, a business stop really, and I don't think that's it. I think that's probably some kind of large cat sighting, so we're going to head down that way now. In between there and here, a huge expanse of land that doesn't seem to be hugely being used by the herds. Now, Chandler, you're asking how many bird species can be found in the Mara. The official... My goodness gracious me. Manu, if you just go over the... Chandler, I will get back to your question now. Follow my finger, Manu. As far as you can to where the light has touched. Even further than that. And to the left. Keep going left. Chandler, I haven't forgotten about you, I promise. Left. There. Look how many animals there are there. That's where the big herds are at the moment. Fascinating. All right, we'll get in amongst them at some stage too. Chandler, there are supposed to be 470 species of bird found in the Mara Triangle. Now, that will vary from year to year. Sometimes there will be that many, sometimes there will be more. There's been a pretty good rain year that generally brings out a whole lot of insects and seeds and things that will attract further numbers of nomadic birds, so it's quite possible that it's sitting at around 472 this year. But that's what it is, roughly. Good. Okay, let's carry on. We're going to head down towards where I think that lion sighting is, and then we'll get in amongst those herds, because something must want to eat them, I would imagine. Let's carry on down here. You're going to drive with me for a little while. We haven't done much driving, you and I, of late. I was just thinking about the wildebeest horns and thinking that actually, no, dark chocolate was a bad thing to describe them as. Licorice would have been much more accurate. So I apologize for that. Shiny licorice. But licorice just isn't very nice. It sounds to me that some people enjoy it. It's like coriander, really. Completely gorgeous afternoon as usual, and because Fergus is on the vehicle with us as well, I have no doubt we'll get caught in a storm at some stage during the course of the afternoon. Now, what I want to do is just get a little bit closer. Oh no, our brown snake eagle has now disappeared. It's a bit sad. Alright, never mind, we have some zebra coming up. Some Grant's zebra. So let's stop and have a look at them. And I must just say again, I mean, I was thinking about that discussion you were having with Byron, there are some zebra over there, about what occurs in the Sabi Santa that it does not occur here. And of course, just about everything that looks the same is actually a different subspecies. So for example, the zebra could happily interbreed with the Birchall zebra that you have at Djuma, but they are a different subspecies because they've been separated geographically for sufficient time for their genetics to have diverged to the extent that they are now different subspecies. So the lions here are sometimes, by some researchers, considered to be different subspecies. And that would go for just about anything that lives here and does not, or that lives here and lives in the at Djuma. Very nice. Now, I believe that Scott has managed to find himself a cat that has possibly lost. It's got a collar.
Yes, we have indeed found what could be a lost spotted cat somewhere out in the long grass ahead of us, and we just thought we would give you an idea of how well these animals blend in to their surroundings. It's tucked away right here in a little bush, and we've literally just arrived here. So all I can tell you is that it's a cheetah, and like James says, it has a collar on. Now, a lot of you, hello, you obviously know just how to work the camera. Thank you for turning over. Now,
A lot of you may have already met D'Artagnan. He is a cheetah with a collar. And I'm not sure if this is a different male who is also collared or if it is in fact D'Artagnan. I doubt it is him. The reason being is I did check in with one of the cheetah researchers this morning who has access to his GPS collar, and she said that they were still, him and his coalition of 4 were still much further north in the conservancies that surround the Mara Reserve and the Mara Triangle. So I'm guessing that this is another male that we have yet to meet. Now, we would be able to work it out by looking at the spots on his face, but I sadly don't have any of my other photographs of him with me here, if it in fact was D'Artagnan, but I don't think it is. Judging by his belly, he does seem quite full-bellied. And interestingly, this guy was actually seen crossing the Mara River this morning. So he did come from the side of the river where D'Artagnan and his coalition do spend time, on the eastern side of the river. And wouldn't that have been wonderful to see, this cheetah having to cross the mighty Mara River? We saw the coalition of 5 crossing a smaller river just a few nights ago. Some of you would have seen that footage, but it's certainly not nearly as daunting a task as crossing the Mara River. And I'm really looking forward to working out who this could be. But for now, very, very fortunate to have a cheetah on the side of the river. There certainly hasn't seemed to be very many that we've seen here compared to the other side. And what a pleasant, pleasant surprise. I am a little bit concerned, though, because of his full belly, because it may mean he is going to continue sleeping for quite some time. While he sleeps, though, we can show you some other animals that are also roaming through the plains. We can start off with a herd of elephants, which are probably about 3 o'clock wildebeest, just in the sunlight there. I love watching elephants in this open landscape because you get a good idea of just how big they are. Beautiful. And quite a large herd of wildebeest to the left of them. So there is a lot of game in this area, not just the cheetah, and beautiful expansive views. Sounds like Byron has found another bird to add to his list, and he would like to share exactly what it is with you.
Oh, that's wonderful, Scott. It sounds like he's seeing a lot up there at the moment, and we've got a new bird for the list. Wonderful, a white-browed scrub robin. And that's one of James's favorite birds. We've been hearing it a lot. Just haven't seen one, but this one's posing beautifully for us. So that's another one to the list. And James was saying he's quite impressed. We got up to, well, now 57 birds. Thank you, James. And James, I haven't seen the Wahlberg's eagle yet. You were wondering if Wahlberg's eagle has perhaps returned yet. I haven't seen one, not yet anyway, but I'll keep a lookout for it. Wahlberg's eagles are one of the first birds to return in the spring from migrating. Beautiful melodious call of the white-browed scrub robin. Isn't that nice? That's another one for the list. I'm getting really excited about all these different birds that we see. Still, my favorite so far that we've seen was definitely that scarlet-chested sunbird. I haven't seen one of those for a long time, and to see that was really exciting. And you know what, everyone, I'm going to just check here quickly. It's one of the holes where we do see a genet from time to time. Let's have a look. Let's have a look if it's here. No sign, no one home. No, not this afternoon. No sign of a genet. Oh, that's okay. Sorry, I thought I heard a bird calling. Little owl. I can hear a pearl-spotted owlet. Alright, now I'm going to see if I can find it. Let's head back across to James, who's also doing some birding on that side.
This is very exciting. This is a grey-backed fiscal, everybody. And it is just catching itself a grasshopper, I think. Yes, there it is. Now, it looks a little bit like a lesser grey shrike, but the lesser grey shrike, of course, has got a, well, slightly greyer back, and is also not blessed with a tail of anything like that length. Isn't that nice? That's definitely one that you do not find at Djuma, with his little bandit's mask. Many of the shrike species have bandit's masks, of course. I'm not sure why that should be the case. I'm going to refrain from trying to make any twee or corny jokes about how they make a living, etc. But you can surmise them from what I've said. Now here comes another one, that very unattractive call. Squawk, squawk, squawk. It's flown away. Oh, there are two of them there, Manu. Manu, there are two of them over there. Very nice. In fact, they're quite common around here. That's not the one I was looking at, but that'll do. You found another one. In fact, where I'm sitting, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. That is quite a lot of lesser grey fiscals, or grey fiscals. Oh, Manu, sit very still. We're being charged. Look in front. It's coming straight towards us. Thankfully it's moved off now. The threat is over. I may now answer Carol's question of whether or not we find secretary birds in this area. We absolutely do, Carol. We've seen, how many? We've seen 2 today already. So there are a lot of them around. Thank you for that, Carol. He seems to be at the head of a small line of zebra that are moving away from the river, going towards the escarpment. And this chap is not a youngster by any stretch. Now, I've noticed a few of these zebra, and in fact I read about this before I saw it. Look how short his mane is. And I don't think that's the result of wear and tear. Some zebra, apparently in the Mara, do not have manes. And we saw one earlier today with a mane even more brush cut than that. And I say he's not young because of the wrinkles on his neck and his muzzle. Now here, the rest of them come up here. Kevin, you want to know why we're unable to ride zebras? Kevin, that's actually a really interesting question. And for those of you who are thinking to yourselves, well, I mean, obviously we're in the Masai Mara, that's why we can't ride the zebras. You'd be correct. But zebra have... there have been various attempts to domesticate zebra. There was a lord, in fact, who moved to Cape Town at one stage and insisted that his carriage be drawn through the streets of that very windy and somewhat snobbish city by zebra. And he succeeded, but I suspect quite strongly that the members of his staff set to wrangling the zebra were blessed with many bruises, cuts and broken bones. Zebra are inherently not prone to domestication. They evolved, much like buffalo, in Africa, which means that they evolved with human beings, and their evolution with human beings meant that they know us as hunters. They know us only as a threat. They know us as predators. And because of that, and unlike, say, we'll talk about domesticated animals a bit later, because of that, they have an inherent fear of us, and to get them to, not even raising them from real youngsters, can make them get over that. And interestingly, zebra kill, or certainly hurt, more zookeepers and zoo workers around the world than any other animal, including things like tigers. So they're not domesticatable. People talk about the fact that their backs are a bit weak and that sort of thing, but it's got much more to do with their temperament than than it does to do with their physicality, because of course you could breed zebra to have strong backs. You could find a strong one and breed it with another strong-backed one, and eventually you'd probably end up with something as strong as a horse. Now, if you go outside of Africa, into, say, the Fertile Crescent, where goats and sheep and cows, for example, were domesticated, well, then you find animals that were much more docile by the time human beings tried to start domesticating them, which was about 20,000 years ago or so. And during that period, they found something called an auroch, and an auroch is the precursor to all modern-day cattle. And because they had not evolved in an environment where humans were the apex predator, they did not show anything like the fear that these animals did, or that, for example, buffalo did for human beings. And a wonderful example of that, of course, is the great buffalo herds of the plains of the United States, where when people arrived with guns, and in fact you can read accounts of this, they'd just stand there, those enormous herds, while, the hunters, well, let's call them butchers, for that's what they were, while they just picked them off. They didn't run away, they didn't show any fear for humanity, because they hadn't evolved with human beings. So that's why you'll find that no African animal has ever been successfully domesticated to the point of it being useful. Isn't that interesting? And if you want to know more about this and put in a much more eloquent and succinct way, you can go across to read a book by Jared Diamond called Guns, Germs and Steel. That's Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs and Steel. Now, Rebecca told me to link to somebody. I had no idea to whom we're going to link, so let's go across to them now.
Oh, look at this, everyone. A pearl-spotted owlet. Now, I've been looking around for these little owls to add to the list, and I managed to find one in a large acacia. 58. Awesome, and what a lovely little bird to add to the list. The pearl-spotted owlet. I heard him calling and managed to spot him in the tree. Beautiful. Look at that. Those yellow eyes. And those very prominent black markings on the back of the head. There you can see them clearly. Wow, it's actually really, really well hidden. If you have a look where he is sitting in this knobthorn, look at that. So well hidden. There it is. Awesome, awesome. That is really great. Another one to add to our list, and a beautiful bird. As I said, I always enjoy seeing these little owls. We've still got a few more owls we can try get on camera. Lorena, you say, way to go, Byron. Thank you very much, Lorena. Yeah, that is awesome. Birding challenge. Francis, thank you. You say you think I'm the best at getting owls. All the other guides, though, managed to find the owls too. Taylor and Tristan, and Ali, I suppose. Yeah. I wonder if the guys have seen many owls in the Mara. I don't know. I haven't heard if they've seen any owls up there. I might just have a look to see if that giant eagle owl is still around too. James, you were asking when can we expect to see the arrival of the Amma falcons? James, let me just double check. I think around October, November. James, let me just double check for you quickly. Hold on, I'm going to stop here. Now the little Amma falcons, beautiful falcons. Let's see, James. November, actually. James, around November. So that's when we're probably going to see the Amma falcons. Let me show you a picture of them. Those little birds over there, and you tend to see them in small flocks from time to time. You see a number of them together. Always nice seeing those little Amma falcons. Let me just show you distribution. There we go. So they do occur in this area. But as you can see, just over there, November, December, January, February, March. Around there, right in summer, that's when we'll start seeing them. So James, only then. As I said, I wonder actually, why don't we drive down to Chitwa Dam, go and see what's going on down at the dam, and then we'll make our way back to those lions a little bit later this afternoon. I think that's our plan for this afternoon. I do enjoy kind of having a basic plan when you are driving around, and the reason for that is it gives you an idea of what you're going to be doing. Plans always change out in the bush, but it's nice to have a plan to start off with, and then if you vary, it's not a problem, but it's nice to have an idea. Seb, you just want to move off to the left there quickly. Next one, we just drive past this car. Thank you. Thanks, Seb. So we'll see what birds we can get at Chitwa Dam. Hopefully we get a few more species there. Just going to go through a bit of a dip through the Mulawati. Let me just go down here quickly. Alright, well, let's head across to Scott again in the Mara, and apparently a mystery teacup.
Yes, we do have a bit of a mystery on our hands here as to who this cheetah could be. I have tried to get a hold of the researchers to find out if they've got any idea who he is, but it seems that we are in a bit of a low-lying Wi-Fi area, which makes communicating a little bit difficult with other people, but I will try and continue to work out who in fact he is and where he usually hangs out, and if he does come across the Mara River often, and I'll be sure to let you guys know. But I think we are going to head off and continue with our mission towards the Salt Lick. Hello, Lillian, who's just 3 years old. I am very happy to hear you love cheetah. So do I. And I hope we'll be able to show you more cheetah as the weeks go on, and hopefully ones that you can see a little bit better than this one, but it is a good example of how they can disappear into the grass, which helps them to sneak up on their food. Very good. We are going to head off, like I say. We need to head further south. This guy doesn't seem like he's going to be up too much, and it does look like he's got quite a full belly. So we're going to head on and see where and what we can find further south. Aya, Santisana Mingi, Kwaheru. So, for those of you who do not speak Kiswahili, I just said Aya, which means it's kind of like, no, that's not much of a road, that's a hippo path, so we'll go back onto the track that we came in on. So I just said Aya, which is kind of like, I don't know how to describe it it's kind of like okay. You'd say it at the end of a conversation with somebody as you part ways. It's like, okay. And then I said Asante Sana, which means thank you very much. Sana means very much in Kiswahili. So it can be Duma Sana, Cheetah very much. That's not a good example. And Kwaheri at the end was goodbye. Kwaheri means goodbye. And there was just a warden there who was keeping an eye on that cheetah and making sure only the relevant people off-road for it. Certain people can off-road and certain people cannot, depending on, I guess, a number of different things. And they are just making sure that
people stick to the rules, which is very, very good. What a magical evening it is, and looking forward to spending a couple of hours out after dark. Like I said a little bit earlier, James and myself are going to continue trying to get you guys into the best possible position to see any action once this sunset safari comes to a close. And speaking of James, we are going to send you back onto his vehicle for an update on how things are going there.
It is indeed a very magical evening, and if we look over to the right-hand side over there, let me just get my fat bonce out of the way, here I go. You can see there we have got a storm brewing, as I said. I hope it won't reach us, but it certainly is making the sky a very attractive grey colour. There was a time when I was a youth, of course, that I thought grey was a very boring colour, but now, as I've become increasingly boring with old age, so I find grey a rather attractive colour. Now, we have heard reports of 2 young male lions. I think I know which young males they are. I haven't seen them for a while. Been driving around here looking for them for a few weeks now, and they're on the river, and so we're going to see if we can't catch up with them and then see what they do as darkness begins to fall and the terrors start to come. Gorgeous scenes there of the golden grass and the wildebeest dotted in amongst, and a small copse of trees. Copse is a nice word, is it not, Manu? Proper, he says. I agree. Rondre, of course, until right now didn't know what a copse was. Now, pole, I'm just going to get a spelling in that from Rebecca. You want to know if animals ever cross from reserve to reserve in Africa. Now, there are 2 things to ask you further before I can answer your question. And while I ask you that, I'm going to ask Manu to look over there. There's a warthog who thinks he can't be seen. Paul, yes, obviously they do. They can, of course, cross from reserve to reserve. But I'm wondering if you're perhaps considering whether or not animals could cross from the Mara to Djuma. And that answer would be no, because, of course, there are 3 or 4 countries between us and Djuma. And so, no, they wouldn't go that far. But absolutely, in this area, you know, there are no fences. And so this entire vast Serengeti Mara ecosystem is unfenced. And so although it is nominally smaller than the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, of which Djuma is a very small piece on the western fringes, it is potentially much larger because there are no fences. There is nothing to stop the animals going further north into community lands, and indeed they do that. And I'm not sure if you've been watching the TV series, but we had a lion expert from the north of Kenya a little while back, about 2 weeks ago, and she does a lot of research with people who live amongst lions. So they have their herds of cattle and goats and camels, believe it or not, up in the northern parts of Kenya. And there they live amongst the lions. And so, yes, animals do cross out of the reserves, between reserves, and into areas where human beings live. And if you go to a place like Botswana, into the northern parts of Botswana, there's a town called Kasane, which often has elephants walking through the high street, although high street is a strong term for what it is. And if you go to Victoria Falls, for example, on the banks of the mighty Zambezi River, where the smoke thunders, of course, you will find elephants walking through town there. And so there are lots of places in Africa where animals are able to cross out of reserves into towns and into other reserves. But there's no sort of fixed rule as to how that happens or where it happens. But I always quite like the thought that there could be an elephant outside the front door, even if you live in a sort of human settlement or village. I always think that's quite nice. I don't suppose everyone thinks that's quite nice, but I do. Okay, let's carry on. Oh, so hang on, before we carry on, there's a tipple skirtshie walking across the plains there. There's a giraffe. Can you see it there, Manu? It's quite far in the distance. It's not very close. But I always think that giraffe give the best possible sense of space in an area like this. There we go. Marvellous. As we absorb the piece of the scene that Manu is creating for us, let us head across to Scott, who I believe has got a number of security guards on the prowl.
Sadly, they have prowled themselves. Oh, there's one that's just popped out into a better view temporarily. But yes, some banded mongooses are doing their business. They live in large family groups of about 20 to 30, and sadly all of them have just skedaddled into that long grass. They were in this kind of open clearing just before they disappeared, but no joy. There are quite a few of them in the Mara, and loving being able to see them, because even though you do get them in Djuma, you don't see them very often. So looking forward to spending more time with them in the coming weeks. For now, we are sending you back to a big crocodile in Djuma.
Wow, now we also have some big crocodiles around here. Not as many as the Mara have, but have a look at this. Beautiful big crocodile sunning itself on the bank. Scott, I'm so sorry about that link about a mystery teacup. I didn't hear Megan properly. It's the mystery cheetah you were speaking about. Don't know where I got teacup from, but anyway. Scott must have thought I've lost the plot completely. Look at those teeth now. This is a big crocodile. But I know that the team in the Mara see crocodiles much bigger than this. They are monsters up there. I'll see, but I wonder, can we get those, the top right hand side of the tree? It's a bit difficult now with the lights, but let's see if we can get those up there. Those are lesser striped swallows, and it's difficult to make them out, but I can guarantee they are, because I heard them calling. That little one, though, isn't. Those two that flew away were lesser striped swallows. That is something else. Can I tell you, it's just a silhouette. I can't make out any colour or anything on that bird. So, I'm not even going to hazard a guess. Don't know, unless it's a... you know what, I can't see anything. I've got a silhouette. But those lesser striped swallows I could see earlier. And this bird has puffed up its feathers and got its back to us. Sorry everyone, I can't make out what that is. I'm not going to even try hazard a guess. But the lesser striped swallows are nice, and I'll actually play their call for you. They've got a lovely call, quite easy to identify. Hold on a second. While we have a look at that beautiful crocodile who's still... And the hippo, look, actually, sorry, Seb, there's a lot of hippo activity. A lot of hippo, look at that. Let me play this lesser striped swallow call for you. Quite a distinct call, quite easy to identify. So that was... Oh, it's funny. Some of the lesser striped swallows are here year round, and in certain areas, and then they move around a bit. But that call of the lesser striped swallow is quite distinct. Now, Francis, you asked if I've ever seen this crocodile kill something. No, Francis, I haven't. Wow, look at that light coming through now. Beautiful afternoon light. I haven't seen this crocodile feeding on anything. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it catches catches some fish. Anything that comes down to drink, I'm sure, is potential prey. But I haven't seen him feed this. I'm not sure if it's the male or female. I think I actually don't know exactly how many crocodiles there are here. But I'm not sure if this is a male or female. Apparently, there is a pair there is a pair that they do see here. Because I was chatting to one of the managers here the other day, and he said he's seen them mating. So it's a male and female. Oh, this fish eagle's about to fly over us. There it goes. Well done, Seb. Oh, amazing. That was wonderful. Well done, Seb. That was so quick. Oh, yes. Look at that. You see, throw the head back as it called. It really throws that head right back. Amazing. Oh, that was perfect timing. Well, there it goes. Catch something for us. Come on. No. Not interested. Oh, you never know. Wouldn't it be amazing to watch a fish eagle catch something? Let's see if it calls again. That's beautiful light and great stuff. Seb, well done following that fish eagle. That's amazing. Mr. P from Canada, you say vultures versus eagles, which is more powerful, which is stronger? Well, vultures are much larger, and the vultures, the power of their beaks, their talons, they are very powerful. So I would have to say vultures, purely because of size. But I think a bird with the strongest talons actually is a eagle, and that is the crowned eagle. That is probably the most powerful talons out of any bird of prey here. Which one is it? Yep, the three-banded plover. We've got that. Thanks, Seb. Beautiful to see them though. Look at that. And also in this wonderful light. Now a bird we haven't seen here for quite some time, but does occur in this area. Scott has found it in the Mara, and this one definitely won't fly away.
Well, yes, certainly very, very lucky that we are enabled to show you creatures that occur throughout Africa, both on Djuma and the Mara, but certainly the populations thereof differ greatly. Ooh, looks like it's heading towards, I don't know what's in the ground there, some smaller birds that seem to be a little bit worked up, but it's just trod straight past them. I'm not sure if it was a francolin or a kind of a lapwing. What is that in there? It looks like a wattled lapwing, possibly. Yeah, it looks like it, or a crowned lapwing. And maybe it's got its nest in there, but wasn't too concerned that the ostrich waltzed on past. Beautiful, beautiful scenes as it cruises through the open plains. This is a male. Similar colors to the fish eagle you've just seen, but like Byron says, this bird certainly cannot fly. And I'm very happy that you did get to see the fish eagle also calling. I love the way they droop their head when they call in flight. This guy's taking a moment to catch its breath and cool off, it looks like, having its mouth open there. They pant like dogs do when they heat up, as do all birds, as they cannot sweat to cool off like us. Hello, Bobby. You'd like to know if I've ever come across an ostrich's nest, and sadly, no, I have not. And only on a few occasions have I actually seen ostrich chicks. They are the cutest little things on the planet. Huge, clunky legs, and very cryptically colored bodies, which helps them blend in if and when there are any threats. But no, I have not seen an ostrich nest. They're incredible things, and interestingly, multiple females can lay their eggs in one nest, but only one male will assist in the incubation thereof, and also usually only the main female. So beta females will be allowed to lay their eggs within the nest, but they won't really be involved too much in the incubation. And interestingly, the alpha female, who is in charge of the nest, will push the beta female's eggs out to the outskirts and have her eggs right in the middle. So quite an interesting setup, and they've got multiple, like I said, females possibly laying in one nest, and they can be anywhere between 20 and 30 eggs, but again, a lot depends on where in Africa you are viewing them. And you also do get a subspecies of ostrich. You get the southern ostrich, or the common ostrich, like this one over here, which has got a very pink neck and legs. And then you also, not far north from here, start getting the Somali ostrich, which has got a very bluish colored neck and legs. So you do get two subspecies. I was lucky enough to see the Somali ostriches up in an area called Samburu, where I was working before I came back to Safari Live here in the Mara. Paula, you would like to know if ostriches migrate, and no, they don't, not as far as I'm aware. The only main animals that migrate, at least in this migration, are the wildebeest, of course. They are the most numerous. Then the zebra, then the Thompson's gazelle. Those are the three main species that are doing large movements or migrating. The rest of them will just be doing kind of seasonal movements, short movements, as and when there's food or mating, but it all depends, again, on the individual species. Hello, Penny. Just 6 years old. You would like to know, why do ostriches have such long necks? And I guess it's because they've got such long legs. And if they didn't have long necks, it would be very, very difficult for them to feed. Like you can see it feeding now. It can now reach the floor. But if it had a short neck, it would be very difficult for it to be able to get to its food. So then the next question that we need to ask ourselves is, why do they have very long legs? And that's so that they can run quickly, because they cannot fly. So these long legs allow them to move very, very quickly and avoid being eaten by lion, leopard, and cheetah. Well, at least it helps them to avoid being eaten, but they will be attacked by, most often, lion when they're fully grown. It's when they're youngsters that they are very, very vulnerable to other predators like snakes and jackals, even the smaller cats like serval and caracal. But once they're fully grown, they don't have too much to worry about, like I say, other than lions, and they can run very, very quickly. It's actually hilarious when they run. They wave that long neck from side to side and put their wings up and out from side to side. They have got a very, very unique way of running. Not always. They sometimes just run normally with their heads up, but they also do have a kind of a display that they do when they run, maybe when guys like this are trying to impress the ladies. Beautiful. Okay, well, it sounds like Byron does not want to leave that crocodile until it shows him his first crocodile kill on Djuma. So why don't you go and see what it's up to?